excited to kind of dive in, and I think you guys will find very quickly that it's easy to get access to decision makers when you have the right tools to do so. Yeah, it's super useful for agencies, and that's where most of our data points are geared for us towards agents. But if you're going to sign up, use Frankie's code. It's Frankie25. It's pretty easy, all caps, Frankie25. That gives you 25 extra credits when you subscribe to any plan. So take advantage of that. It's free credits, free money.
All right, you beautiful motherfuckers. This is going to be the most handsome presentation you guys have seen all probably year, because I got Dr. McQuinn, medicine woman, the founder of Coldlytics. For those of you guys who don't know Coldlytics, Coldlytics is the answer to a lot of the questions and problems you guys have that you don't know yet. Is the answer in terms of outreach questions. How do I get around gatekeepers? How do I get to decision makers? How do I find out who's spending all the money? How do I reach them? How do I get their contact info? What's the best stuff to send them? And we're about to show you a cool new demonstration because our man, Matt McQuinn over here, has done a new facelift on Coldlytics and made it easier, shinier, faster, better for you guys to use, and more focused on the kind of outreach that our kind of agencies want to do. So firstly, my brother, thank you for coming back, doing this with us.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to kind of dive in, and I think you guys will find very quickly that it's easy to get access to decision makers when you have the right tools to do so. So without further ado, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get in.
All right. So I'll just take you out to the dashboard. So this is where you would see your list history if you have lists already in your account. If not, this will be blank when you sign up for an account. You can make an account for free just to click around and check this out if you're interested. We'll start by clicking on the new task button in the top right corner, and we'll click on small businesses. Then set your geography as the first step. So you could be as broad as the United States, or you could go with a specific city or town, whatever works for you. We'll hit the next button. Then we'll come down here into industry. Let's say we're looking for personal injury attorneys. So let's set this to lawyers as the general industry, and we'll isolate the personal injury guys later. So let's click the next button.
I would just like to add that, like, for all of you guys doing this, like, I mean, you could do this with basically any industry, right? Like, we're not, just 100%. Limited to, okay.
Yeah, you name it. If pretty much any industry vertical is going to work here, unless you're looking at like enterprise, like software companies, that type of thing. We have a different approach for that, but for the most part, 99% of industries are going to work in this field. So we talk about finding the decision maker and getting around those gatekeepers. This is where you do that. So set your seniority level to probably owners or founders. And then in this case, like if you're looking at a law list, you might be interested in the lawyer themselves or the attorney. So would enter both of those terms because they may or may not come up as an owner, but they may still be valuable targets given their position. So we've added the specific titles that we know we can sell to, and the seniority level that we're okay with. In certain cases, you guys may also want to select like directors and executives or middle management. If we can't find an owner, then second best is somebody else from the C-suite, right? So that's kind of how to think about the seniority level that you're going to pick. Let's click that next button, and we're going to come down into filter. We're going to use our most popular filter, which is the website keywords. This is a new feature to Coldlytics that really enables you to get extremely granular in how you use the targeting. So let's say you're looking for personal injury. Obviously, that's going to show up on their website if that's a specialty that they provide. So let's put appears on the website. And then let's say we don't want anybody who's involved in family law, as an example. So we'll put does not appear on the website, and then we'll go next. So now you know that you're going to get a list of lawyers in the United States from Coldlytics who practice personal injury law and do not practice family law. And you can customize this to whatever you want. If you're doing a list of plumbers, you might want to make sure that they're plumbers. And so you put plumber on there or plumbing as a keyword on the website to show up. And then one that you want to exclude is maybe wholesalers. Maybe you don't want wholesalers on your list. So we'll say wholesale as a keyword.
Or maybe certain types of plumbers, like you want guys who, work on homes and do emergency repairs, but not guys who do new construction or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could put residential, commercial in there. You could customize this however you want because we're going to check the website for that keyword and then add it to the list or remove it from the list based on whatever you've requested here. So, anything you want me to expand
Yeah,
on
I
the
actually
website?
think your personal injury example was a good one. And then maybe we could just exclude a practice area like bankruptcy. Like usually the best personal injury guys don't do 7 other areas of law, for example.
Yeah. Perfect. So if this were to look good, we'd hit the next button again. And then you've got two options. We can either click deliver and go in and just set our data points from this list of optional data points. Or we could add another filter, and I'll quickly go over what the new filters are. Some of you guys might have been aware of. Some of this will be brand new to you guys. So we'll go through it fairly quickly. Under the firmographics section, we can filter, and keep in mind, these are filters, not data points. So these are things that restrict your list or expand it based on how you use them.
Yeah.
So we can filter by revenue. We can filter by the company
Which is
headcount.
huge,
So
by
how
the
many?
way, because like I get all kinds of questions, just so you guys know, that are all around basically like, I'm getting broke people. How do I, filter out
Yeah,
the broke people? Well, don't even talk to the broke people in the first place. Just filter them by knowing they're at a
right.
certain revenue already.
Yeah. So I mean, if we click on that, we can set this. Let's say a minimum of 500,000 or a minimum of 1 million in revenue, and then no max, and then you just add that in like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one that also is a good tell is, of course, the size of the company. So how many employees they've got. You can add this feature here
Yeah.
and set a range. We'll leave it at no maximum. So now we've said we're looking for lawyers that do 1 million in business and have 10 or more people in their firm.
Yeah.
Um, Back into the filter list, we've got a few more here. We can go with the age of the company, so how long they've been around. Obviously, if they've been in business for like 5+ years, they're probably solvent and they're probably a going concern. We can filter by how many Google reviews they have or what their review score is.
This
We
is
can
amazing, by
include,
the way.
yeah, it's super useful for agencies, and that's where most of our data points are geared for us towards agencies. Um, Filter by if it's a franchise or not, and if they're advertising on, this is a really popular one, if they're advertising on Facebook and you want to know that, let's click yes. So make sure that they do advertise on Facebook, or let's say or Google. We're good if they advertise on either one. That's a green light for us. This is finding your shoe buyers, right?
Yeah.
Let's click next.
This is, by the way, just so you guys know, um, a lot of the questions I get asked around this are simply because people start conversations with the wrong fucking people to begin with. And what
Yep.
Matt has done is eliminated, like, just with a couple of clicks here, 80%, 90% of the people you shouldn't even talk to in the first place. And now, like, as he's mentioned, as I call them the shoe buyers, but these are the people who are actually actively spending money. And my first secret criteria, doesn't matter what industry, what niche you're in, is, are they spending money now? You don't want to be the person trying to convince a company to spend money on themselves and to invest in the advertising and growth of their business. Rather, you would much rather find somebody who does that already and convince them to allocate a certain portion of that to you. You're going to find that way easier because it's something they already believe in. So you're not trying to convince them. And just this little step alone right here, even though it like eliminates 80-90% of the people, that's what you want. You want to talk to people that have a proven history of spending money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing to do is start out as narrow as you can and then expand out after. A lot of people will come in and they'll just go, I want as many of these lawyers as I can find, so let's leave it pretty broad, and that's fine. But you're missing the opportunity to focus on the people, like you said, who are already spending money, that you can already have a guaranteed kind of knowledgeable conversation about what your service is. So it definitely gives you the upper hand. A couple other filters I'll highlight. I think we covered the firmographics. Yeah. Under technographics, we can filter by certain technologies. So if there's an e-commerce function or an e-commerce hosting platform, we can detect that here as well. So if you're looking for e-commerce businesses, you would want to use this filter. We can also detect if it's a WordPress built site and if they've got Google Analytics installed. So you can filter based on these requirements. If we go back out here, we'll look at technographics again, and we've got page speed. Good if you're doing SEO. If you guys want to find a bunch of people with slow websites or beyond Google's 2-second rule, then you could come in here and go page speed minimum 2,000 milliseconds to max, to any maximum.
Yeah.
So you can then know that you're dealing with people that could use optimization to their website, right? Let's go back out to Technographics again. We've got ad networks. This one isn't used too often, but if you want to find out if a company is monetizing their website using one of these 4 major monetization platforms, you can filter based on that as well. We'll jump over to, last but not least, the advanced filters. We went over website keywords. Then we have suppression list. You guys probably already have a list of clients, or if you don't, you have a list of companies you've been reaching out to already, and you don't want to pay somebody to give you those same contacts again. So all we ask is that you put the data onto a Google Sheet and then share the link to that sheet here, and we'll make sure that any leads we provide you aren't duplicates for what you've already got in your database. So you're only paying for absolutely fresh stuff that's highly accurate and targeted to what you need. So that's a quick overview on the filters. Any questions or clarifications I should do on this, Frankie?
No, but I think this is great because like I just want to clarify that a lot of the problems you guys bring to me like every day as a collectively, I'm not saying you, but are actually answered right here and there, because so much of this is just talking to the right people in the first place. Like, I just did a training on this yesterday that will be released later, but a lot of times people, they say, I want to go after dentists, and they don't think that there's a spectrum in the industry and that not all dentists are created equal. And we want to talk
Right.
to advertise or a certain head count, have been in business a certain number of years, have reviews, things like that. So being able to start with good data, I'm telling you, will eliminate 90% of the headaches that you guys face. I mean, you still have to write good messages and you still have to, have a strategy behind it. But if you're like talking to the wrong people is the equivalent to me is imagine, for example, your service is like barbecue pork ribs, and you decide you're going to bring it to the Jewish vegetarian conference and you're going to try and sell barbecue pork ribs. Well, I don't care how fucking good you are at selling, and I don't care how great your offer is, you're going to sell fucking zero because you're talking to non-buyers of pork. Flip side of that is you take the same offer, you go to the Alabama football game, and I'd be surprised if you don't have like a line, a half a stadium line along for your barbecue pork ribs. So this is how important quality data is. If you get this wrong, nothing you do will work, because you're trying to sell pork ribs at the Jewish vegetarian conference. You do this right, and then all of a sudden it's like it's so much easier because you're talking to people who just already buy ribs in the first place. And you've made that like super simple, where it's just click a couple buttons and let's talk to the right people.
Yeah, exactly. So the last couple of steps, if you wanted to turn this into a list, we click on the deliver button. We'll select the data points. I'll go over these really quick. We've got the first and last name selected by default, along with the company name, their job title, and their email address, as well as a link to the company website. These are every mandatory fields. We're going to fill out every single one of these for every lead you get. And then everything after this is optional. If we can find it, we will add it. So we've got the address selected. Then we can also look for these other data points, including the LinkedIn profile, phone number for the business, the Google review count or score, a link to their Google business profile, if they've claimed their Google business profile, the mobile number or direct dial. That one is the only premium data point that uses an extra credit. If you guys have questions about the credit system or anything, just use the web chat or check out the pricing on the homepage. It's free to see. You don't have to do a sales call or anything. Company Facebook profile and all their other social media profiles, we can try and find those for you. The revenue of the business, their employee headcount, the date established. So again, the company age, the ad pixels. So we'll look for ad pixels on their website. If they are there, we will tell you. If they've got Google Analytics installed, e-commerce function on their website, if they've got WordPress as their host, if you wanted the page speed, this is where you'd want to add that page speed data point. This one's really interesting too, is the search term, search location, and search position. The 3 of these are really good bits of information for you to have going into a sales call, especially if you're working on ranking a business, to know that the search term that was used in what location and what position they came up in. So let's go up to the top again. We said the location was the United States. So obviously we're going to run a specific search from there. We're going to look in, let's just say we look in Eagle, Idaho, for example. It will say Eagle, Idaho as the search location. Search term is going to be right here. It's going to be lawyers. So if you search for a lawyer in Eagle, Idaho, what position did this lead come up in? We'll tell you whether they showed up number 1, 2, 3, were they in the map pack, or were they like position number 40, way down the list. This is really useful to know because you don't have to go and look that up yourself later. And you can pitch and sell based on this data that you didn't have to do any extra work to get, and it's free to include that. So that covers the data points. Any questions, clarifications?
No, I'd
for
just
that?
like to add, actually, I'd like to play around with this a little bit, and I'd like to put together a little report, you know, a little just one pager for our people for recommended settings for search, because I think like getting good data is, like, to me, 80% of the battle, just talking to the right people, and you've made it super easy. And I think, you know, sometimes the settings and stuff can overwhelm people, but you know, we basically have like 4 or 5 different verticals that most people are selling: SEO, web design, Google ads, Facebook ads, you know, YouTube ads. There's a few things that people are selling, but if it's cool with you, I'd like to make a little short report that just shows people the recommended settings to use, so that they don't even have to think about this. Just click these buttons, do what we say, and you'll get good data.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we could definitely help you out with that. The last but not least, if you guys wanted to produce this list, you can add additional notes if you want to clarify anything. But just don't forget to give your task a name. So just call this lawyers list, for example. And then we would change the contacts required to however many you're looking for. It will default to the largest amount of credits in your account. Unless you want less than that, you can set that to, let's say, 100. Because I've got over 14,000 in my account. Let's say I only wanted 100, I'd set that there. And max per company, I get questions on this. This is how many leads do you want per company? So let's say there's 5 lawyers and we can find 5 emails, but they're all from the same firm. Do you want 5 lawyers' emails, or do you want 1 lawyer's email per firm, right? Or per company? So if you're like, hey, I might be able to pitch to a couple of them, then why don't set this to like 2 or 3 and see if we can find you multiple leads. If we can't find them, you'll just get the one for that lead. But this gives you the option to get multiple contacts for a
I think that
firm.
probably
So,
depends a lot on the type of industry. If you're going after a local business, probably 1 is more
yeah,
ideal. But if you're going after, an international kind of brand or something like that, you might want, 5 or 10 different decision makers, kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We would launch this list, and then it will look something like this. If we go out to the dashboard, the first update that it's going to give you is that the list is being allocated. So let's see if I can actually get out here. So the first step is that it goes out to the head of research, who decides what researcher is going to actually manage this project. So who is best at finding lawyers is really what the question is that we would ask. And then we'd say, okay, we know Bob on our team has found great lawyer leads in the past. Obviously, we're not going to go give it to Susan, who's working on restaurant leads all the time. We're going to give it to Bob, who's an expert in finding lawyer leads. And so this is part of how we get an edge, where we're doing fresh research that you can go to a database and pull up the same data everybody else is selling to, or you can go with a fresh research approach where you're getting the most accurate, up-to-date data possible, and finding more leads, because we're using human research in the process, not just what showed up when you looked at the company website, for example.
What's the typical turnaround time for folks from you click the button until you get a list? Like 24 hours?
Yeah, 24 hours is the goal during business days. If you click on your task, it will give you the due date that we've set for us. So it's 24 hours later. And you'll see kind of the history on your list. If there's any updates, you'll see it in the activity section over here on the right. A link to the spreadsheet that we're going to put your data on, all that's right here on the dashboard. Couple other shortcuts worth noting. If you guys have a list, let's say you did like this list I'm doing right now, a list of plumbers in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Let's say I wanted to switch that to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Let's just make a copy. We'll come click the 3 dots, make a copy, and then I'll go in and change the geography from Allentown to Philadelphia, and I'll be good to go. I'll just launch that list right away. So I don't have to remake the list every single time over and over again from scratch. I can just copy and move very quickly that way. There's also a relaunch button that appears when a list is done. I don't have one here to show you right now, but if you've got a list and let's say you requested 25 plumbers and you're like, great, I got 25, I want another 50, then just come in here, click the relaunch button underneath the 3 dots, and set however many you want to look for. So if you want another 50 or 25, type that in and hit relaunch, and you don't have to go through all the steps again to recreate it. So it's really easy to continue to get more of the same data if needed.
Badass.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers, like, these are the main things, besides some administrative stuff that we've updated. Like, if you guys are familiar with Coldlytics already, you used to have to ask us for like billing history and that type of stuff. All that appears in your dashboard now, including your credit history, which is kind of nice to know how your credits were spent, what list they were spent on, etc. You can see all that here. So we've just really added some fundamentals that will be here for the long run, and a few new targeting things like the website keywords. I think you guys will find pretty valuable.
Let's talk about the most fundamental thing, which is where do we get it? How much is it if we want to go party with
Yeah,
you?
for sure. So you can create a new account on Coldlytics for free, and then there's a $7 trial that gives you 25 leads. So you can do that. You can use Frankie's promo code, which I'll have to look up unless you know it right off. Do you know your promo code, Frank?
Again, I'm bad with that. Sorry. I have
Good.
all my stuff saved in a spreadsheet somewhere, but I have too many.
Likewise, yeah, we'll pull that up here at the end. Billing and payments, if you guys want to sign up and get rolling, if you're just looking for a few leads a month, like 100 or less, the light plan is a good place to start. It's 99 bucks a month, gives you 100 credits. One credit equals one valid email contact. All those data points are free except for the one. That's the only time it uses an extra credit is if we're finding mobile numbers. So direct dial, we call that. So starting the light plan, $99 a month for 100 leads. If you're doing more volume and you want a more economical plan, shift all the way over to the pro plan. You're looking at $5.99 a month, so 59 cents per credit or per lead, giving you 1,000 credits per month. And then there's a bonus that you'll see when you first sign up that's first available to you when you first subscribe. So depending on which plan you subscribe to, you'll get some extra credits as well on top of Frankie's promo code. And let me look that up right now. I'll go find that. Any questions on the pricing you want me to clarify before I do that, Frank?
No, but I just wanted to say, like, this is the epitome of what I call less but better lead generation, which is like talk to the right people in the first place. I think people, as a general rule, like overvalue money and undervalue time and energy. And this is like, hey, like you could message 1,000 dentists, and in my experience, you know who, like, even if you break through and 2 of them respond, the 2 that respond are the ones who have teams, have been around, pay for advertising, and already value those things. You could save yourself a mountain of time by just focusing on those 2, by scraping those 2 through Coldlytics and eliminating 98 people to talk to that you're never going to get anywhere with anyway. And that's the epitome of this, is like, more rifle and less shotgun spray and pray over the internet. So I don't have that yet for you guys, but over the next probably week or 2, I'm going to come up with a little short, simple report just with recommended settings to use inside of here for you guys, because I want to make it super easy for you guys to find what I think is quality data. There's basically 2 things that I look for in any industry that'll save you a mountain of headaches. One is, are they advertising already? And 2, have they outgrown the single solo operator and actually have a team and group of people? Because you're going to have far more success when they're used to outsourcing, everything, really, like when they're used to paying other people to manage problems for them, and they've outgrown the do it yourself. And you've made that just like a couple of button clicks. You can tell, really, really fast, who the people who spend the money and have teams and have the kind of traction you want. And a lot of times we think they already have it all figured out, and it's really the opposite. As they get bigger and grow, they have more advertising problems, not less. Like I see this with personal injury lawyers, where they'll be advertising 20 places, TV, radio, billboards, bus stop ads, all kinds of digital SEO, pay-per-click, YouTube ads, Facebook, on and on. And just TV alone, they got to figure out media buying, creatives, phone numbers, who's editing it, who's it producing, how do we share the files, how do we track it, how do we measure it, which TV stations do we buy on, meeting with the different TV stations, and blah, blah, blah. And that's just one media they're managing. So I say that to say, like, a lot of times we think, oh, they have it already figured out, they're doing 10 million. And it's almost always the opposite. It's like, those are the people who have more problems and more to spend to solve those problems. And you made that super easy for a couple of button clicks. So I'd like to put together just a little report for our most common services with the kind of recommended buttons to click, so you guys can start with good data and just focus on the people. Because I'll tell you, I answer so many questions that could be boiled down to, you shouldn't even be talking to that person in the first place. Is this person trying to screw me over? Are they just trying to get something for free? They haven't paid their bill, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you shouldn't be talking to them in the first place. And you'd be amazed at how many headaches will go away when you just solve that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys need help setting up your first list or first task, or you want to look at it specifically through your own lens, you can set up a demo with me on the homepage of coldlytics.com, and I can go through it with you one-on-one too. But if you're going to sign up, use Frankie's code. It's Frankie25. It's pretty easy, all caps, Frankie25. That gives you 25 extra credits when you subscribe to any plan. So take advantage of that. It's free credits, free money. If you guys do need any help, though, the web chat or booking a demo with me is definitely the quickest way to get help specifically with your type of list. So happy to do that if you guys need that.
Appreciate it, my dude. I'm gonna hit end recording here. We love you guys, and we're gonna talk some shit about you now, in a good way, though. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.